Yo, what's going on, guys? Watomarmelon back again today, and today's market watch is going to be kind of a unique one in that all of the entries on today's market watch are going to be on eBay. As always, if you want to check something out, if you're buying something on eBay, clicking the affiliate link in the description below, I get a kickback and it does help out the channel. But as I said, everything that you're going to be seeing today is on eBay. The first thing I wanted to go over is they're not auctions, but it's the God cards out of the new legendary collection, the 20 or the quarter century secret rare. Basically look like Starlight rares, although I will say there is an interesting distinction in that these have the same foiling pattern as the OCG prismatic secret rares. They're not exactly like Starlight rares in that the lines are more like a parallel rare style, although they look much better than a parallel rare. All I can really say, there might be a video on YouTube showing the difference, but they do have a subtle distinction between the Starlight rare. But it's not too large that I think people are really going to differentiate between the two rarities all that much. And so we begin with the God cards. We've got Obelisk, Ra, and Slifer. You can see that all these God cards are about $10, $11, $12. What I can say is that these cards will not sell on release for these prices. I would not recommend picking these up. I think that these cards are going to be close to $5 each. I think it's pretty reasonable that maybe a set of the three will go for $10 if people can bundle them up. Um, I don't really see a world where this card is above $10, at least not for a long time. It's just that this 25th legendary collection it's going to be printed into the ground as they do with basically every single legendary collection, and it would not be surprising to me if these cards, there are just so many of them on the market that the market can't absorb all of them, because there are six that you can get out of a box. So you have a 1 in six chance of getting a specific quarter century secret rare. That is not large enough. The ratio is too forgiving for these cards to hold on to a ton of value. And so I'd be very surprised if they have these prices. But it seems like there are, 17 of these things sold, 16 of these things sold, 16 of these things sold. Like, it seems like some people are buying them. I don't know why people are getting so antsy, but maybe they've seen some of the videos and just can't help themselves. Also, I believe this is out of Brother or the Battles of Legends set for the quarter century celebration. They confirmed that Exodia is going to be one of them. Obviously, this picture doesn't really, it says 25th EN question mark. So this isn't, an official picture, obviously, but it seems like they're predicting that these cards are going to be dirt cheap. I don't know if this stuff has already gotten into vendors. I don't even know when this releases. And maybe I'm mistaken as to when this comes out, but it seems like they're really going to print these 25th anniversary rares into the ground, or quarter century secret rares, excuse me, because they are confident enough that they're selling this for $12. Ignore the shipping because that's international shipping. So it seems like there are predictions being made, or people already know that future sets that have these 25th or the quarter century secret rares, they're going to have them in pretty plentiful supply, and they're going to be pretty cheap cards. Again, just a Blue Eyes card, $16. I think that's ridiculous. We won't see them sell for that much. Now, getting on to some of the auctions that have concluded. Here is a morphing jar out of TP2 PSA 9. This sold for a little over $2,000 and $2,125. I don't really know what the going price for a TP2 jar is, but this is obviously a beautiful card, and it's incredible to get it in this ultra rare rarity. So, still over 2K. I know that this card has come down quite a bit, but 2K seems like it's still a pretty decent price for this. Next up, we have a modern card in Battles of Legend Armageddon, Astral Utopia, selling for around $489. After shipping and all that, it's probably close to 500. I remember when this raw card was going for 500. Something to note is that the OCG had a nearly identical version of this card, especially because their language is also Astral language for this specific card, so it's almost identical. There's a slight subtle foiling pattern difference, as I've said before, and this one says first edition, whereas the other one doesn't, because the OCG doesn't have first edition. However, that card is like a $30 card raw, and so I think a lot of collectors have a hard time justifying spending hundreds and hundreds more for an English version that isn't even in English. So that is that card. Next up, we have Starlight Stardust Dragon, PSA 10, selling for almost around $1,300 after shipping. This card is one that I still don't understand. I get that it's very hard to pull, but I just think that there are better alternatives, original prints out there. I respect that this card looks incredible, but I just don't see why this card holds so much value, because it's not just any other Starlight Rare. This is a Starlight Rare that has gone up tremendously and has held extremely high price points, and I'm interested to see how long it can hold those price points for. It blows my mind to a certain extent, but it's incredible that it's holding that price. Next up, we have $3,050. There was a sale for the Ancient Fairy Dragon First Edition Ghost Rare out of Ancient Prophecy in PSA 10. If I remember correctly, this card, Ancient Prophecy, didn't have First Edition booster boxes, although I could be wrong about that. I do see that there is some whitening on the back, so it doesn't seem like the strongest of PSA 10s. However, $3,000 is nothing to scoff at. Next up, we have Cyber Twin Dragon First Edition Ultimate Rare PSA 10 out of Cybernetic Revolution. This card seems like it's come down quite a bit, although it also might be, there seems to be a little bit of edge wear on the sides. Not too bad, and I think that's pretty common for CRV. A little more noticeable whitening on the back top edge, so maybe this was a weak copy, I don't know. You'd have to take a look for yourself, but around $700 for that. Huge auction that happened on April 9th, so a week from me recording this video. This Asian English Elemental Hero Shining Phoenix Enforcer sold for $2,700, and it's from Australia. I don't know if that's a good price for this card. I know that Asian English is extremely rare for late GX stuff. And to get a PSA 10 of a pretty iconic card, I wouldn't say this is the most iconic card from GX, but it's still one that I think a lot of people like, is pretty just amazing. So that was a huge auction. And then we also have Elemental Hero Wild Edge out of Elemental Energy, that sold for around $957. So this one sold for considerably less, also in PSA 10. A bit surprising, the price discrepancy, although I don't know the relative print runs of Elemental Energy versus Enemy of Justice. And for cards that are as niche as these, albeit still very, very beautiful cards, I think that it very much matters who has money available to spend on such a card at any given day if you put it on auction, and so you can have some that end up very high because there are two people willing to really bid it up, and then you can have some that end low, like this one, although maybe this is a fair price. I don't know if Elemental Energy Asian English is a bit more common. Next up, we have Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon Ultimate Rare First Edition, PSA 10. This one, to me, I really like this card because it's kind of like the first cover card out of a Pendulum set. However, it didn't get a Ghost Rare. It got one in the Japanese printing of the card game, but in English, it didn't get the Ghost Rare out of Duelist Alliance, I think. So, I don't know where this card stands. It's an iconic card for the era, but the era isn't super well liked. $116 seems like a somewhat reasonable price, although I'm pretty sure that this card is actually quite cheap still to this day. Next up, we have Dogmatica Ecclesia the Virtuous. This PSA 10 Ultimate Rare sold for $225. Not a whole lot to say. I'm kind of surprised for how much it sold for, given that there is a Starlight Rare, which was the original print, so I believe that would be considered highest rarity. So I'm not really sure why it sold for such a premium, but still, pretty interesting card to look at. We have a PSA 9 Ghost Rare Rainbow Neos first edition out of Phantom Darkness that sold for $644. Um, yeah, beautiful card. PSA 9 looks to be a little off center, which would make sense with the PSA 9 assessment. Um, you know, I don't know if this is a reasonable price. Honestly, I don't follow sort of graded card market too closely these days, but this is a card that I think is really, really nice. I kind of like the GX Ghost Rays. I know that there's some people that, for me, Rainbow Dragon specifically was one that always seemed a bit underrated relative to other cards, and I guess, it sort of has held on to its price point better than others. Here's one that has fallen out a little bit. $409 for this quote unquote strong PSA 9 first edition Ghost Rare, although there was a sale a couple days before that for $525 in the US. I don't know if the photos just look better. A sale can end for higher on any given day, so it's hard to know the exact reason. Next up, we have Yugioh Terror Incarnate, first edition PSA 10 Ultimate Rare out of Phantom Darkness. Pretty interesting card, sold for $276. I guess I don't know what the pop on this card is. Phantom Darkness boxes are basically extinct at this point. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that Phantom Darkness is extinct, because it seems like a lot of the boxes were just opened up trying to pull Dark Armed Dragon when the set first came out. It didn't really make sense to keep it sealed. So, still very, very interesting to see this card. I wish we got the Yugioh Ultimate Rare. So the first form, this is the second form in the sort of overall chain of Yugiohs, and Yugioh Ultimate Nightmare Ultimate Rare. It's bizarre because those two forms got Ultimate Rares in the OCG, and this card got an Ultimate Rare in the TCG. So you need both languages to complete the full set in Ultimate Rare. I wonder if these would be more collectible if all of them were printed in the TCG with some rarity to them. I imagine that a Yugioh Ultimate Rare, if it was in the TCG and difficult to pull, would be pulling some pretty significant numbers. Like, imagine if instead of Rainbow Neos, that was the Ghost Rare from Phantom Darkness. To me, that would have been... I think that Yugioh is a bit more iconic than Rainbow Neos, given that... and one note is that I think Divine Neos kind of... It got an unfortunate printing because it was printed in Crossroads of Chaos, and that's kind of like the ultimate form of Neos. So it's a bit sad that that one wasn't printed in a GX set, but I don't know. I think that Yugioh would have been an interesting choice as a Phantom Darkness Ghost Rare. Next up, we have a Black Skull Dragon Ultimate Rare PSA 10. I love these old OCG Ultimate Rares. This is one that I've owned before. I actually sold it. But they look incredible. This photo really doesn't do it justice. This one sold for a little bit less than $500, so I think that's a reasonable pickup for such a card. And whenever these things go on auctions, as with any niche item, as I said before, sometimes they end pretty low, so you gotta keep your eyes on those. Rainbow Dragon First Edition PSA 9 or BGS 9, excuse me, with pretty, I'd consider this somewhat weak subgrades with a 8.5 surface. The other ones are all right. However, this sold for $732. I mean, that to me is pretty incredible for an 8.5 surface on a Ghost Rare. But still, it seems like Rainbow Dragon is kind of digging its heels in. Interesting sale. I love my Rainbow Dragon, my favorite Ghost Rare of all time. So I'm happy to see that it's doing quite well. And it's a beautiful card. First Ghost Rare ever. Next up, we have auctions that haven't ended yet, but I'm still going to cover them. We have a Dark Magician Girl that's already at $1,425 in PSA 10. I mean, I know that these are difficult to grade, but I'm pretty sure the pop on this is not too low. I think it's, there are dozens of these things out there. So to see a card at over 1,000, approaching 1,500, with still a day left is pretty crazy. Next up, we have another modern Ghost Rare. This is out of Legendary Duelist Synchro Storm. This is around 150 with a day left in PSA 10. This seems a bit more reasonable given how difficult this is to grade. Then we have Rainbow Neos Ghost Rare, this time Japanese in PSA 9. Just kind of started, but this is one to keep your eye out in case it goes low. And then we have a Victory Dragon Ultimate Rare. This is one of the... I really, really love Victory Dragon. It's a shame that it has the jump promo in the TCG, but this Ultimate Rare, if you haven't seen it, again, the photo doesn't really do the foiling justice as often scan images do not, but it looks incredible, and Victory Dragon is one with just an awesome looking art. It's kind of like a smaller Winged Dragon of Ra, if you will. Then we have, a card that really needs no introduction, Elemental Hero Flame Wingman Ultimate Rare, PSA 10 Japanese. The foil pops incredibly on this card. I'm interested to see where this one ends up. I think there was a sale a couple of months ago for a card like this, so we'll see where it ends up, and I think it did quite well. And then we have a first edition PSA 9 Horus the Black Flame Dragon level 6 Ultimate Rare. There actually have been... There's some seller who has 2 of these in PSA 10 printed with... Which Soul of the Duelist is very, very difficult to grade because of the waxing on the back. Although, recently, for whatever reason, there basically no Soul of the Duelist Ultimate Rares were graded PSA 10, or, roughly none, for 2 or 3 years. And then all of a sudden, in the past couple of months, a bunch of them have been getting 10s, which is, interesting to see. I wonder... I don't know how PSA's standards have sort of changed. I don't know if, they decided that the waxing is actually, because it's on every single card, it's acceptable. I don't know what's going on there, but I've seen a lot more of these cards in higher grades recently. So it's interesting to consider. I believe this is the same seller. Oh, no, it's not. This is a different seller who is selling a Horus the Black Flame Dragon, which, with one of the worst images of all time, is a first edition Ultimate Rare. That is such a blurry image. Oh, here's a better one. Although you can see, maybe that's why they put it as the last image. Seems to be a pretty considerable speck of whitening on the top edge. So that's something to consider. Also, this seems to be a new case. So they probably, and given that this is definitely a PSA scan, I would take my bet that this isn't, because of the cert number, it was graded some time ago, and they missed that spec, and they went and regraded it, or not regraded it, but they got it recased in the new case. But we'll see if anyone buys at this. The starting bid's over $1,000, so I don't know about that. And then we have another Black Skull Dragon Ultimate Rare, BGS 9 with no subs. But this one's only at $11.50 right now, so keep your eyes on that. And then from the same seller, we have a BGS 7.5 Blackluster Soldier Ultimate Rare. This is one of the most premier Ultimate Rares from sort of Series 2. I think it's one of the best looking, and it's a shame that the Blackluster Soldier got the SYE printing. So starter Yugi Evolved. It's one of the decks, so it's an automatic pull and not very rare, but I wish Blackluster Soldier got some... that would have been an incredible secret rare in one of the early sets. So it's a bit of a shame that it got the sort of guaranteed ultra rare treatment, but OCG did it right with this Ultimate Rare. And so this is one that if you're trying to collect old OCG Ultimate Rares, I think, in my opinion, sort of the ones to go after, obviously SM51, and it's what, LN53 is the Dark Magician, SM51's the Blue Eyes, and then forgetting the set code on the Red Eyes Black Dragon, I'm drawing a blank. So those 3, obviously. But after that, I think that Blackluster Soldier is one that you really have to consider. And personally, I take Blackluster Soldier over Red Eyes Black Dragon, but That's just me. So this is one to keep your eyes on, see if it goes low. But thank you guys for watching. Long market watch, but hopefully you did enjoy this eBay market watch. It's been your boy Watomarmelon, and peace out.